Does your engine feel like it used to? Slower off the line, a little rougher at idle, drinking more gas than it did a few years back? Here's the truth almost no one tells you. That tired feeling rarely means the engine is worn out. It means a handful of small things have quietly slipped out of tune, and nearly every one of them is something you can put right yourself. I've spent more than 20 years under the hoods of high-mileage cars, and I've watched engines at 180,000 miles run smoother than ones half their age. The difference was never luck. It was these 13 things. We're going to count down every one, and number 1 is the one nobody talks about. A $40 part tucked away on your exhaust with no warning light when it goes lazy that can wake an engine up more than anything else on this whole list. Get these right and you'll claw back lost power, add real years to the engine, and quietly stop feeding the pump and the repair shop. Let's start at 13. Number 13. Your engine air filter. Your engine is an air pump. For every drop of fuel it burns, it needs a precise rush of clean air to burn it with, and that air has to fight its way through the filter first. When that filter clogs with dust and grit, the engine starts breathing through a straw. It pulls harder, runs a touch richer, and you feel it as soft throttle and a few quiet miles per gallon slipping away. Here's what 20 years of pulling these has taught me. The filters I find in cars past 90,000 miles are often packed gray and solid with leaves and sand, like the bottom of a shop vacuum. The owner swears it was done recently. It almost never was. The fix could not be simpler. Pop the airbox open, hold the filter up to a light, and if you can't see brightness through it, it's done. A good one runs about $24, takes 5 minutes, and needs no tools at all. Make it a habit every 15 to 30,000 miles, sooner if you live on dirt roads. Number 12, the gas you're actually buying. Not all fuel is the same, even when the pump looks identical. The real difference is the detergent package mixed in, the additives that scrub your intake valves and injectors clean as you drive. Bargain fuel skimps on those additives. Over thousands of miles, deposits creep onto the injectors and valves. The fuel spray turns from a fine mist into a sloppy dribble, and the engine loses the crisp response it had when it was new. This isn't a hunch. Testing by the American Automobile Association found that fuels meeting the top-tier detergent standard left dramatically fewer engine deposits than the cheaper stuff, and that engines already gummed up actually began cleaning themselves once their owners switched over. So buy from top-tier retailers. The big national brands carry the label. It costs a few cents more per gallon at most, and your engine spends every mile cleaning instead of clogging. It's the rare upgrade that costs almost nothing and works while you sleep. Number 11, the PCV valve nobody mentions. Tucked low on your engine sits a small cheap valve called the PCV valve. Its only job is to vent the pressure and vapors that build inside the crankcase and route them back to be burned off cleanly. When it sticks shut, that pressure has nowhere to go. It starts forcing oil past seals and gaskets, hunting for any way out, and you end up chasing mystery leaks, a rough idle and sludge building where it never should. Let me put a question to you. When is the last time anyone, a dealer, a shop, a mechanic, even said the words PCV valve out loud to you? If you're drawing a blank and your car is past 80,000 miles, the one in there is almost certainly the original, and it's tired. Replacing it is almost embarrassingly cheap. The valve runs around $17. It usually pulls out and presses back in by hand in under 10 minutes, and a fresh one every 60,000 miles keeps your seals dry and your idle steady. Number 10, the right oil, changed on time. Oil is the thin film standing between your moving metal and a very expensive noise. But not just any oil. Your engine was built for one specific viscosity, printed right there on the cap and in the manual. Put the wrong weight in, or stretch the interval too far, and the oil thins out, loses its protective film, and lets heat and sludge take hold. The engine gets louder, hungrier, and quietly older than its actual miles. A retired school teacher from Spokane brought me a Camry that had started ticking on cold mornings. For years, she'd let a quick lube pour in whatever bulk oil was on sale, never once matching the grade her engine actually called for. We switched her to the correct spec and ran 2 proper changes close together to flush the old sludge out. The ticking faded and her mileage climbed back up. Left alone another year, that habit was pointed straight at a $4,180 short block. Over a few dollars difference in oil. Match the viscosity on your cap exactly. Change it on the schedule your manual lists for how you really drive, and a proper change in your own driveway runs around $31 in oil and a filter. Number 9, cleaning the throttle body. Just behind your air filter sits the throttle body, a metal bore with a flap that swings open to let the engine breathe when you press the pedal. Over time, a sticky brown film of carbon and oil mist coats that bore. As the gunk thickens, the flap can't seat or swing cleanly, and the engine begins to hunt at idle, surge at stoplights, or stumble when you first feed it gas. Most drivers assume it's a failing sensor and start throwing parts at it. Watch what happens with two Honda Civics at the same 110,000 miles. The one whose owner wipes the throttle body clean once a year idles dead steady. The neglected one shudders at every red light and nearly stalls backing out of the driveway. Same car, same age, one clean piece of metal apart. The fix costs about $8. A can of throttle body cleaner and a clean rag, 10 minutes with the airbox off, and you wipe the bore back to bare metal. A shop will bill you near $169 for that exact same quarter hour of work. The next fix is one of the smallest parts under your hood, and the one most people run far longer than they should. A worn version of it quietly robs power from every firing, thousands of times a minute. Number 8. Your spark plugs. Every time your engine fires, a spark plug throws the spark that lights the mixture, and it does that thousands of times a minute, hundreds of millions of times over its life. They wear out slowly, and the wear hides well. As the electrode rounds off and the gap widens, the spark turns weaker and less reliable. The engine begins misfiring in ways too small to feel at first. A little rough at idle, a little slower to start, a little thirstier at the pump. I've pulled plugs out of engines at 120,000 miles that the owner swore were fine. The electrodes were rounded down to nubs, the gaps nearly doubled, the tips crusted gray. Every one of those was forcing the ignition coils to work overtime just to light a tired spark. The fix is a set of fresh plugs in the grade your manual calls for, usually around $46 for the set. Gap them to spec, torque them down properly, and follow your interval. Copper plugs near every 30,000 miles. Long life iridium closer to 60 or 100,000. Clean spark only matters if clean fuel is reaching the cylinder to burn it, and that's exactly where the next one comes in. Number 7. The fuel filter. Between your gas tank and your engine sits a filter whose entire job is to catch the rust, grit, and sediment riding along in your fuel before it ever reaches the injectors. Every mile, it quietly loads up. When it finally clogs, your fuel pump has to strain to shove gas through it. You get hard starts, a stumble when you accelerate, a loss of power climbing hills, and the pump itself slowly cooks under the extra load. A delivery driver out of Tulsa brought me a Silverado that sputtered and lost power on the highway anytime the tank dropped below half. A dealer had already glanced at it and floated a $912 fuel pump. That pump was perfectly fine. The filter had never been changed in the life of the truck, and it was choking the whole system. $34 and an afternoon later, it pulled like itself again. Drop a comment below while you're thinking about it. When was the last time your fuel filter was changed? Be honest, because most people have never touched it once. If your car has a serviceable filter, replace it on the manufacturer's interval. The part usually runs about $34, and on many cars it's a 20-minute job once you've relieved the fuel pressure. A starved fuel system is a few $100s on a bad day. The next thing on this list, left alone, is where engines die outright, and the bill leaps into the thousands. Number 6. The cooling system. Coolant does far more than keep your engine from boiling over. It carries a package of corrosion inhibitors that protect every metal passage it touches, and those additives wear out long before the fluid ever looks dirty. Once they're spent, corrosion sets in. The passages narrow with scale. The water pump and radiator begin to rot from the inside, and the engine creeps toward the kind of overheating that warps a cylinder head or lets go of a head gasket. Technicians certified by the National Institute for Automotive Service Excellence will tell you that cooling system neglect is one of the most common reasons an otherwise healthy engine ends up dead on a flatbed. That lifetime coolant sticker has talked a lot of drivers into never looking at it again, and that's exactly the trap. Flush and refill with the correct coolant for your car on schedule, usually around every 5 years or 60,000 miles. Done in your driveway, the fluid runs about $27. Ignore it, and the head gasket waiting on the other side starts at $2,640. Quick reminder before we keep going. If this list is already saving you money, take a second and hit that subscribe button. It's the simplest way to keep these videos coming. The next one feels like it should be expensive and complicated. It's the exact opposite, and it's quietly skewing every drop of fuel your engine receives. Number 5. The mass airflow sensor. Just past your air filter, a small sensor called the mass airflow sensor measures exactly how much air is entering the engine, so the computer knows precisely how much fuel to match it with. A fine film of dust and oil mist settles on its delicate wires over time. As that film builds, the sensor underreads the airflow. The computer meters the fuel wrong, and you get hesitation, a rough idle and fuel economy that slides for no reason you can point to. Here's a question worth sitting with. Have you ever had your mass airflow sensor cleaned, not replaced, cleaned? If you've owned the car for years and the honest answer is no, there is a film on that sensor right now, nudging every reading off true. The fix is a $13 can of sensor-safe cleaner made specifically for this. Pull the sensor, spray the wires without ever touching them, let it dry completely, and reinstall. A shop that skips straight to a new sensor will charge you about $287 for a part that only needed a rinse. A dirty sensor just confuses the engine. What's next can physically burn a hole in your wallet by destroying a part downstream, quietly, one misfire at a time. Number 4. Ignition coils. Your ignition coils take the car's low voltage and slam it up to the tens of thousands of volts each spark plug needs to fire. When a coil starts to weaken, the cylinder it feeds begins to misfire. That misfire dumps raw, unburned fuel straight into the exhaust, where it cooks the catalytic converter from the inside out. You feel a stumble and a shudder, but the real damage is happening downstream, where you can't see it. Picture 2 Toyota Tacomas at the same mileage. The first driver felt a faint stumble, had the weak coil tested and swapped at the first sign, and drove on clean. The second shrugged the shutter off for months, washed the converter in fuel, and turned a small problem into a $1,390 one. When a single cylinder misfires, don't shotgun all the coils and don't ignore it either. Test to find the weak one and replace just that coil, usually around $58, and you protect the far more expensive part sitting right behind it. After all that talk of voltage and converters, the next one is refreshingly low-tech. A clogged part you can often clean back to life for the price of lunch. Number 3. The EGR valve. The EGR valve recirculates a small amount of exhaust back into the engine to lower combustion temperatures and trim emissions. It's a good system, right up until carbon builds and gums the valve so it can't open and close the way it should. When it sticks, you get a rough idle, hesitation, under acceleration, the occasional ping, and often a check engine light. Most shops reach straight for a replacement. A wedding photographer in Knoxville rolled in with a RAV4 doing exactly that the week before a big Saturday booking, terrified the car would strand her. She'd been quoted $415 to replace the valve outright. It didn't need replacing, it needed cleaning. We pulled it, scrubbed the caked carbon off with cleaner and set a fresh gasket, and had her back on the road for $22. If your idle has gone rough and a code points at the EGR, try cleaning before you spend on a new one. The carbon lifts off with EGR Safe Cleaner, a stiff brush, and a new gasket, and far more often than not, the valve underneath is perfectly good. And every single thing we've cleaned and corrected so far, the fuel, the air, the spark, the carbon, is being measured by that $40 part I promised you back at number 1, the one with no warning light at all. We're nearly there, but there's one more to cover before it. Number 2, the carbon you can't see. Every mile your engine runs, a little carbon bakes onto the backs of the intake valves, the tops of the pistons, the walls of the combustion chamber. It builds so slowly that you never feel the power leaving, but leave it does. On a heavily caked engine, that carbon shrinks the airflow into the cylinder and creates glowing hot spots that invite knock. The engine fights for the same breath it used to take easily, and your throttle response goes soft and lazy without a single warning along the way. I've put a scope down the intake on engines past 100,000 miles and found valves that look like charcoal briquettes. The pattern over the years is unmistakable. The engines run hard on the highway and treated now and then stay remarkably clean, while the ones that only ever crawl through short city trips choke themselves black. Here's the fix, and it's 2 parts working together. Run a quality fuel system cleaner through a full tank according to its directions. A good bottle is about $16. And then actually use the car the way it was built to be used. Take it out on the highway, get it fully up to temperature, and hold it at higher RPM for 20 to 30 minutes. That sustained heat and airflow scrubs away the lighter deposits in a way idling around town never will. For an engine that's already badly caked, a shop can perform a deeper carbon service for around $349, though most drivers never need to go that far if they stay ahead of it. And that brings us to the one I've been promising since the very first minute. Number 1, the $40 part with no warning light. The single change that wakes a tired engine up more than anything else on this list. Number 1, the oxygen sensor. Screwed into your exhaust, just ahead of the catalytic converter, sits a small sensor that might be the hardest working part you've never once thought about. The oxygen sensor reads the exhaust and tells the computer, many times every second, whether the engine is running rich or lean, and the computer trims the fuel in real time to match. When it's new, it reacts instantly and keeps the engine in a perfect window. But over 80, 100, 150,000 miles, that sensor goes lazy. It still works, but it reports slowly and a little off, and the computer ends up tuning your engine on stale information. Here's the part they don't tell you, and it's the whole reason this sits at number 1. A lazy oxygen sensor almost never trips a check engine light. It doesn't fail outright, it simply fades, so gradually that you blame the years instead of the part. Most drivers go the entire life of the car and never replace one. A rideshare driver in Albuquerque brought me an Accord with more than 240,000 miles on it, certain the engine was finally wearing out. It felt tired, it had lost its old pep, and his own fuel logs showed his mileage had been quietly sliding for a year. A shop had already pitched him a $760 carbon and tune package to chase the feeling. That engine wasn't worn out. The original oxygen sensor, after 250,000 miles, had gone lazy and was feeding the computer slow, sloppy readings. We threaded in a fresh one for $43. On the drive afterward, the throttle sharpened up. The idle settled, and within a few tanks his mileage had climbed back to where it sat years earlier. That's the quiet magic of this one. At high mileage, or any time the engine has gone soft and thirsty with no code to explain it, replace the upstream oxygen sensor. The part runs around $43. It usually backs out with the right socket in a few minutes, and the computer relearns the correct fuel trim over a short drive. It's the closest thing I know to a reset button for a tired engine, and almost nobody ever reaches for it. So there they are. 13 things, most of them cheap, nearly all of them something you can do right in your own driveway, every single one pulling your engine back toward the way it felt when it was brand new. Here's what you do next. Every fix on this list undoes damage that's already done, but there's a whole set of everyday habits quietly causing that damage in the first place. Things you're very likely doing this week without ever realizing it. I put all of them in the video on your screen right now. Don't click away and let that engine keep aging from the same handful of mistakes. Tap that video next and go fix the cause. I'll see you there.